Hello and welcome, I'm your Code Monkey. In this lecture, we're going to set up our Unity layout. Okay, so here we are in our project. Let's just customize our layout. It's very important that you set up your layout in a proper way, so that you have easy access to all the things you need and you know where exactly everything is. Now, you can set up the editor in any way you want, but it will probably be easier to follow this course if you're using the exact same layout as me. And like I said, since this course is meant for intermediate or advanced users, I am assuming that you know the absolute basics. So I'm assuming you already know what exactly is the inspector window, what is the project window, the hierarchy window, and so on. I'm assuming you know what is a game object, what is a component, transform, and so on. So I'm assuming you already know all of those absolute basics. Now in terms of layout, I've been using Unity for over 10 years now. I started making my first Unity game in 2012, so let's see the Unity layout that I've developed over the years. First is the inspector over here on the right side. This way we always have a nice view of the selected object and whatever scripts it has. Then for the hierarchy, I like to grab it and place it down here on the left side. We're going to make sure that our scene is always nice and organized, so we don't really need the hierarchy to take up tons of space. Then with the project files over here right next to it. With the console also over here on the next tab. Usually I find that when making the game, I want to look at the project window, but then when playing, I mostly just look at the console. So keeping them in the exact same place but on different tabs, that makes perfect sense to me. Then over here in center, we have the scene view, and with the game tab, either over here on the exact same next tab, or over onto the side. So depending on whether I want to see both of them at once, I swap it out one or the other. Okay, so the basics, this is the rough layout that I normally use. Now for a couple more options. So over here on the project files, on the top right corner over here, you see these little three dots. Over here, I like to set it as one column layout. Basically, this showcases all of the project files, all of it in this nice compact list tree view. Now, if you need to browse lots of visuals in your project files, then you can swap back into the other one. But for most of the time, this compact view works great. Also, since we're here, just in case you don't know, there's this nice little button over here with an eye. This basically shows the visibility of the packages. So over here, we can see we have all of these packages installed. And if we click on that, basically that folder shows up as empty. Packages still exist, they're really just hidden. So just a small thing, in case you want to browse the packages, untick this. But in most cases, probably leave it ticked, leave everything nice and collapsed. Okay, that's for the project window. Then over here for the console. For this one, let's also go into the three dots for some more options. The main one I like changing here is over here the log entry, set it as just one line. Basically, this makes the console nice and compact, which personally I prefer. You can see a bunch more logs without taking up quite a lot of space. Then of course, if you want to read the whole log, you can just click on it and view the whole stack trace. Then if you want, you got some more options, so show the timestamp or not, using monospace font or not. You can choose whatever you want. I'm going to go with these settings. Also extremely important is over here these three buttons. This is for the tab messages that appear in the console. So the left one over here, this is info messages. Basically the regular messages, we're going to use this quite a lot. Next we've got the warnings, and then we have errors. Basically if you untoggle any of these, then the messages over here will not show up in the console. This is something that a lot of people find quite tricky. So if you ever come across an issue where for some reason nothing is showing up in the console, definitely make sure you check these buttons. Always make sure they are all ticked so you can see exactly every single message. Then over here on the left side for the clear, I like to clear on play just so everything resets. Then for collapse, this one basically collapses messages that are exactly the same into one entry and then just shows a number. Now personally, I don't like this. I want to see every single message as it comes, even if it is duplicated. I've also seen this lead to a lot of confusion for some people. They think their code is just firing one message when it's actually firing hundreds. So to avoid any confusion, leave this untoggled. Then for pause, yep, we do want this ticked. We want the game to automatically pause if some error occurs. If you untoggle this, you might get an error, but the game might keep playing, which might in turn lead to a bunch more errors. So always leave this toggled. And that's really it over here for the console. Then let's go over here onto the game view on the center. First over here on this tab for the free aspect, let's swap from free aspect into full HD. This is the standard aspect ratio. Technically, this will really only matter when we start working on the UI and positioning elements. But either way, I like to put it on 16:9, just as always. And then for another very important option over here, let's enable VSync. Basically, this will limit the frame rate depending on your monitor's refresh rate. This is really good to make sure that your graphics card doesn't go crazy trying to render a completely empty scene at like 1000 frames per second. This way it won't be limited. In my case, it will limit it to 144 FPS. And also, if your game view is looking pixelated, then make sure you check out this slider. If you move it like this, then this looks really pixelated, so always make sure this one is all the way over to the left. Okay, that's the game view, and next to it we have the scene view. Now for this, pretty much on default should be good. Now over here, these two are extremely important. Definitely make sure you know exactly what these two mean. These basically place the handles that you see, like for example the move handle. If I select something, there you go, that move handle. If it is like this, it is placed on pivot, but if it is on center, then it's placed on the center of the object. Usually this is very confusing, so if you ever see your handles in weird places, make sure this one is on pivot. That is probably what you want to do. Then for this one, either local or global rotation. Sometimes global can be useful if you want to rotate or move something while ignoring the rotation of that particular object, but in most cases, probably leave it on local. Then over here, let's show the grid on the y-axis. There's no need for snapping. And over here, all of these also look good, so let's leave it on shaded draw mode. With 2D disabled, sound doesn't really matter for now. Let's leave all of the various effects enabled by default, just without the always refresh. Let's hide hidden objects. Then for the layers, show all of them. For the camera, everything on defaults. And for the gizmos, again, everything on defaults. Okay, so here is the layout that I'm going to be using throughout this course. Like I said, it will be easier to follow the course if you're using the exact same layout as me, so ideally you should be using this. But again, all the windows are customizable, you can place them anywhere you want. So if there is something you absolutely prefer on a different place, then go ahead. You can drag the windows and place them anywhere you want. And once you have a layout that you're happy with, go ahead on the top right corner and you can go ahead and save the layout. So in this, I'm going to save it as the .rts course. And if you ever get lost, you can go ahead, you can reload default layout or go back into that one and everything reloads. Okay, great. So our layout is all perfectly set up. Now the next important thing is setting up Visual Studio, so let's continue that in the next lecture.